I'm going to do the ANZAC, the Canadians, and the French all in the same video. ANZAC initial placement in New Zealand. There's 1 infantry and 2 fighters. In C-Zone 63, there's a cruiser. In C-Zone 62, there's a destroyer and a transport. In New South Wales, which is the capital, there are 2 infantry and 2 anti-aircraft artillery. They've also changed the value of New South Wales from 2 to 3, which means they've also changed the value of Victoria from 1 to 0. In Queensland, there's a single fighter, an artillery, and 2 infantry. Note as well, by the way, Dutch New Guinea, which is involved in one of ANZAC's national objectives, is now worth 1 instead of 0. And in terms of, I should mention where the other ANZAC forces are. There's 1 guy in Malaya, and that's the only other ANZAC unit on the board. So in terms of national objectives, they get, and this is only when they're at war with the Japanese, but if they control all of their original territories and the British control Malaya, then the ANZAC gets a 5 IPC bonus, or get a 5 IPC bonus. If they control Dutch New Guinea, New Britain, and the Solomons, they get a 5 IPC bonus as well. So what that means is if they want that bonus, then at some point they've got to land in Dutch New Guinea and claim it from the Dutch. So that's the ANZACs. The Canadians, which are, of course, are on the other side of the board. The Canadians start with the following. This is all stuff that the UK had in the out-of-box game, but they start with an infantry and an artillery in Ontario, an infantry and a tank in Quebec, along with a factory, and then in C-Zone 106, adjacent to New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, and Quebec for that matter, there's a transport and a destroyer. Up in Scotland, there are 2 Canadian infantry, and then down in Egypt, there are also 2 Canadian infantry. So those are all the Canadians on the board. The Canadians get a 3 IPC bonus to their income if they can figure out a way to get a unit into a territory that was originally controlled by France. So for example, if they land in Morocco, that satisfies. If they land in French Guiana up here, that satisfies. If the Canadians over here in Egypt go up into Syria, that satisfies the criteria as well. Basically, so that if they want that bonus, the Canadians have to figure out a way to get at least one of their pieces into an originally French-controlled territory. Now, speaking of the French, let's go over the French setup for the game. You can see most of the stuff. I'll zoom out a smidge so that we can get it in frame here. Okay, in the capital in France, there are 6 French infantry. There is a French tank, a French artillery, and a French anti-aircraft artillery, along with a French fighter. In both Normandy, Bordeaux, and in the capital as well, there's a major factory, which of course becomes a minor factory once France falls. In both Normandy, Bordeaux, and southern France, there is an infantry and an artillery, plus a factory. In terms of their navy, they do have, you can see here in C-Zone 110, there is a cruiser, along with the British cruiser and battleship. And in C-Zone 93, there's a cruiser and a destroyer. Other French units on the board. In North Africa, they have a unit, an infantry in Morocco, an infantry in Algeria, and an infantry in Tunisia. Down in Central Africa, in French West Africa, there's a single infantry unit. And then all the way over here in just off the coast of Madagascar, there is a French destroyer. The last French unit on the board is in Syria. There's an infantry in Syria. France does not get any national objectives, but it does get to spend immediately 12 IPCs worth of units once the first time France is liberated. So usually most people put like 4 infantry in there or something. But I mean, hypothetically, you could do 2 infantry and a tank, or a fighter and keep $2 or something like that. But basically, that's the only national objective that France gets. So that's the last 3 powers in the game. So I'm going to turn off the video now. I will do 1 or 2 more videos on things like national objectives, or on victory conditions and tech and things like that. So I'll be back with those soon.